Fantastic. Let's
Okay.
move that out of the way if we can. And we can see what's going on. Okay,
All right.
beautiful.
So,
Welcome everybody on Facebook. Welcome everybody on Zoom. Welcome to everybody that has the time and is willing to spend a little bit of time on this wonderful adventure that we do weekly. Next week, I want to make sure that everybody knows we'll be back at our 10:30 time. We're on a 1:30 time now because we actually thought we would be doing this from California, and because the flight is difficult to arrange and safely, we decided to stay here. So we're going to be here. So Judith, why don't you get us started?
so come together with me and let's know in prayer the truth of our being. And the truth is that each one of us is an integral part of the divine. The one power, the one presence, the one love in the universe that is everywhere present is also our reality. And as we choose to focus on this and know this is the truth of our being, that we are always connected with each other, we cannot be separated, we allow the peace and understanding of that to just flow through our entire being, our entire life. We focus on the good that we have, we focus on the love that we have, we focus on the joy of knowing the truth. And we know that this world is going through a wonderful evolution. And what appears as chaos is actually transformation. We see the transformation as being a good thing, a wanted thing, a desired thing, where the world is evolving towards a greater awareness of the truth of our being. And so, as we know it, we see it, we appreciate it, we give thanks for it. We also release this, knowing that it is so, and it is done, and so it
And
is.
so it is. Last night, Judith and I had a chance to watch a movie that I've seen before. In fact, actually, I've seen it probably 3 times before. I like watching movies again and again. The ones that are good are worth watching more than once. And every time you watch a movie, you see things you didn't see before. But the thing I paid particular attention to today in my thinking about the movie was not how the movie was different, but how I am different each time I watch the movie. And I thought about our life conditions that we're dealing with right now, and the start of everything that's been going on and the end of everything that's going on in a way, very dynamic way, has already occurred. That is, it's already done. The epidemic will go its course. The pandemic will go its course, and it will be over. So we can already see a beginning and an end to all of this. The question really then is, how are we with it? How are we in it? And I was so struck with that yesterday with the movie because as I watched the movie, I realized my view of the movie was very different. My view of the pace of it, my view of how fast it should have gone or what should happen was all predicated not on the movie, but on me. And I think we look at this external world and we look at it and ask, why is it the way it is? When one of the questions we might be asking is, why am I the way I am, viewing this world the way it seems to be? We are seeing through the eyes of our beliefs, of our conditions, of our thought processes, rather than through the eyes that are clear of everything. And I think that's an important thing, especially right now, because right now we're so inundated with information about apocalyptic conditions and how it's going to get worse. And that all may happen. But in any movie, no matter what happens in the movie, you still get a chance to be who you want to be in relationship to it. You can get up and go to the bathroom if you want to. You can get up, get a drink of water if you want to. You can get up and think about what you just heard and ask yourself, is there another way I could see it or be with it than I am right now? And I'm inviting every one of us to, and myself included, to keep doing that so that we don't get swept up in this ongoing video experience that is only as real and painful as you allow it to be in your life.
Good point. Good point. It's really easy to do that, especially when you feel like you need to watch the news to, make current decisions, as we did with canceling our flights. So if we hadn't watched the news, we wouldn't have known that both states are considering blocking flights coming in from the other state. And so we feel like we have to watch the news, and yet it can be so attitude shaping. It's so easy to buy into the oh my God, ain't it awful. And the truth is, when I look at our lives are very much the way they were before. We get to do most of what we like to do safely right here, and I still go out and buy groceries once a week. I do it with a mask, but most of what I want to do. But what is really different is personal contact with others. I miss being together with you, our people in Lake Worth where we were meeting, and yet thank goodness that we have this Zoom capability, that we can see each other and meet with each other. And I don't get to meet with my family in person as much as I'd like to. And although I did last Sunday, to Bob's chagrin, I decided if I was going to hug one son, I was going to hug the other before I left.
So when she
and he's not social distancing. They are not social distancing. They're working. And my grandson is going to summer camp. And so they're around all kinds of people all the time. But
yeah, so you need to leave now. You can't stay. I'm sorry. As I was thinking about the topic today, and one of the things that occurred to me is, as you all know, because I've already told you 1,000 times, I'm a writer now. I've been a writer a long time, but I'm writing now a lot more, so I'm now almost a full-time writer. But what came to me was really interesting was I don't create any of the words. The words have all been created. All I do is arrange them and ignite them. And think about that in relationship to all you do very often is rearrange the thinking that you've already done in the past in a different order, and then have an impression or have a reaction to it. And what if you didn't know or didn't think you knew what was going to happen? Would you not have a conclusion, and would the experience be different? And so again, I think what I'm talking about is when we look at the world through blind eyes, and that is we don't see a conclusion, we don't see things as good or bad, we're not looking for a way it should be. We have a chance to see the world differently, and maybe in its more pure form. I was writing a guide for a magazine, and the experience I borrowed from was my first experience with a 6-foot Western diamondback rattlesnake. And I was actually sitting on the floor of a shack we were living in at the time in Texas with a dirt floor.
And
so,
you were how old?
2 years old, around 2.5. And the rattlesnake came in, and I can still remember him. He was beautiful. I loved the way he moved. I loved the colors on his skin. I loved that tongue bobbing in and out. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. And he got closer to me, and then he coiled up. And I thought, that's beautiful. And I reached for him because he was absolutely beautiful.
Good toy.
At which point my father came in and removed the snake with a shovel. And that was the end of that rattlesnake. But the thing is, I had no fear. And I saw such wonderful beauty. What I see now, in fact, I can even see it on the faces of some of the people that are watching. When I said rattlesnake, there's no space for seeing beauty. There's no room for seeing the incredible way that they move about without legs. There's no way to enjoy that red tongue sampling the air, because the impression that you have, or the like that you have, or the dislike that you have, takes precedent over that. And I wonder how many rattlesnakes we see when there aren't any. And I wonder how many rattlesnake views we have that limit our vision, stop us from being able to see. That certainly is a very large part of the racial problems we're having right now, is that many white people see brown and black people as dangerous people before they even meet them. And when they see them as dangerous, then they're busy trying to overcome their fear, unable to engage or connect. And they don't mean to do that any more than a person needs to say, I hate all snakes. How can you hate all snakes? Well, I just do. And that's the end of the conversation. they're all slimy. Well, actually, they're not. And so all of the stuff we have that's fear-based intrudes into what we see until we can't see anymore. And so, what I'm asking us all to do, myself included, is to look with clear eyes. To look with the clear eyes of a person who doesn't know what's going to happen next and is willing to be in that space of not knowing rather than jumping to conclusions. I know when we watch the news, we watch CNN and then we go to Fox, and we don't go to Fox. Personally, I don't go to Fox because I like it. I go because I want to hear what another view is.
Not another, the other view.
Yeah. But what's amazing is they are both wonderfully, subtly skewed. I mean, they're so carefully skewed, so that both of them, one just leaves things out if they don't like them, and the other pushes and pushes and pushes until they get the person to say what they want them to say, so they can say, "See, I told you." That's what everybody feels. And so the bias is so clear. There's no clear eye, and so we have to have clear eyes. We have to be willing to say, I don't know what it means. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what's necessarily best. Let me explore and let me move forward. Let me begin to question rather than trying to gather evidence for the conclusion that I've already drawn that I call the answer. We keep finding out that we don't have the answers. We keep finding out we have to ask better questions.
I've heard a lot of people say, because, the protests have been going on, 3 weeks now, maybe 4. And I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, how long is this going to go on? Enough already." And the question that came to me this morning is if the colors of our skins were reversed and all the white people are now brown and black skinned people, what would we be saying? Would we say, "Oh, enough already. This has gone on long enough"? Or would we, I keep thinking we would say, "Well, why don't they help us? Why doesn't, if I were dark skinned, I would be saying, why aren't the white people doing more to help us achieve equality? They say they want us to have equality. Why aren't they doing more?" And I think that's maybe one of the only ways to understand it, is to put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
Because yes, I know how we feel. Everybody in our movement and attends our services believes everybody is equal, and we treat people of color equally, and we want that for them. But we seem to not know what to do or what would be our role to do.
But I want to come back to the simplest of all solutions, I think, and that is to be more not knowing. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means, and keep inquiring into and asking more questions. When you know what an angel looks like, you can't see an angel that looks any different than the one you have in mind. When you know that a person is smart, you can't see the dumb things that they say. You have to be willing to see all I can think now is, because I was also writing about a baby learning how to walk, that a baby learning how to walk has no idea that falling is a bad thing. They just think it goes with walking, And I watched a baby walk one time for the longest time, trying to walk, and he must have fallen down 50 times before and he never said, "I've had it with walking. This is not a good idea. People weren't designed to walk. They shouldn't walk." He just kept getting up.
They come well cushioned.
Yeah, well, he was got rubber legs, but he kept getting up, and I thought, "Oh my God, this is so incredible." He doesn't have a script for failure. He doesn't have a script for fear. All he has is this idea that walking is what he's going to do, so he claims it. He's, from my point of view, he's an original religious scientist. No, he's a person who said, "I can do this," and claimed it, even though there was no evidence to support ever being able to do it. In fact, everything in the book would say, "You can't walk, you got rubber legs, you have never done it before, you're too small, you look, watch what happens." And he falls over. Sure, he falls over, but he also gets up. And the secret to walking is getting up again and again and again, and not making up a story that defeats you. Yeah. Which, we tend to do. I certainly do.
So I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And what looks like chaos is actually a change. And change is a good thing. And I think that's true even for the pandemic. I really believe that we will have major changes in our healthcare system. not the way our president has in mind, but in a more holistic way that includes everybody, that will be better. And so I think our job is to focus on that good, that we see the good, know that good is happening, and expect that, pursue that. And by the way, I just learned recently, we're going to have another harmonic convergence. Did you know that? I guess the last one was in 1987. There's going to be a convergence of the alignment of planets or stars. I don't know which. I'm not up on all that stuff, but it's happening July 5th through the 14th. And so that is a time for us again to come together and imagine things changing on Earth for the better, into a more harmonious way, into a more where everybody really knows that we're all one and we're all connected. Now, this is an ideology that we believe we're all one, we're all connected. And what if we actually did that in all of our actions and in all of our behaviors? You know, that what I do for others, I do for me. What I do for me, I do for others. And really know that. And instead of falling back into the us against them mentality, which we've always had.
Maybe that's why we watched Roadhouse last night, which is not a great movie.
Oh, but Patrick Swayze.
But Patrick,
it's beautiful to see.
Yeah, and he was oiled and everything, and he postured and moved, and yes, I was even thinking, whoa, he's hot, you know. And I'm not into guys like that, but you know.
Guess who wanted to watch the movie?
Yeah, right. So, yeah, it had violence all over the place. But Judith said, "It's okay today. It's okay." It's okay. But here's why I'm bringing it up. He was a bouncer. Okay, that means his job.
With a PhD in philosophy.
Right. Well, of course, because he had a nice body. If he had been ugly, he would have been in something. It would have been electronics or something. But no. So he's a bouncer in a bar. So what the statement is the world's most corruptible people in the worst possible mental state go there, and they're all violent. And his job is to straighten it out. And so he has a rule. And the most powerful rule that he has for his bouncers, every one of them has to follow this. And the most powerful rule that he has is be nice. Ask them to leave and be nice. If they call you names, understand they're calling you names because they're angry or they're impaired or whatever, but be nice. And if they respond negatively, then get together with 2 or 3 other people and grab the hold of them and carry them out, but be nice. And I thought, my God, such a primitive atmosphere. And then I suddenly reflected back on, oh my God, that sounds like right now. You know,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Just be nice. I don't mean like the person. I don't mean be loving and I just be nice. And I'm thinking, wow, but the first person.
It's profound. It's actually profound.
It is the first person. I would write him, but I can't. He's gone. But I think the first person that you need to be nice to is yourself. Be nice to you. Be nice to you that you have all of the angst and upset and frustration and irritation and upset that you do, and that you're still trying to move forward and that you care. Be nice to you when you're exhausted and run down and can't believe you're going to have to do anything else other than stay awake. And be nice. Give yourself a pat and say, you know, I really am somebody, and I'm worth being nice to. And part of that means, because if you're nice to you, it'll be a lot easier to be nice to other people. And the people I see that are not nice to other people have had a lot of practice not being nice to themselves. And I mean, it's amazing to me. We can talk about spiritual principles and we can talk about spiritual ideals, and I think that's worth doing always. It's worth meditating, it's worth praying, it's worth just extraordinary amounts of energy, but none of it's very worthwhile if we're not nice.
Exactly.
We just need to be nice to one another. And you know, what I notice on Facebook and what I notice on Zoom and the people that you're nice. It's a joy to be with you because you're nice to each other and you're nice to us. And that's the first step in us being able to overcome any obstacle and every obstacle that there is.
So, is anybody having any trouble with experiencing fear? And nod your heads if you are. Good. great.
Wonderful.
And I hear, oh, I'm getting a yes. And anybody having trouble with loneliness? Okay.
We'll
Good,
wait.
good,
No.
great. Yes, was that a yes? He has come on and gone to say yes. She lives alone. It's worse. It's harder when you live alone. It's really
Yeah.
harder when you live alone. And so,
Or when you live in a relationship where the other person either is not very caring or not capable of caring or is compromised or
yeah, that can be worse than being alone.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say, I'm going to shout out to anyone who's involved in the caretaking that is not getting stroked or loved or positively responded to after a day of hard work. You know, I know when Judith will do any number of things around the house at the end of the day, whether it's for me or for herself, I can always say to her, you know, you did a lot today, Judith. That was really great what you did. I love that. And it's really tough when you're in a relationship with somebody who doesn't say those things, that you just have to kind of know. And because I don't think Judith does the things she does for me or around the house to get me to say it was great. But I sure think if I didn't say it, it would be missing. And it's important. It's an important piece. So if you're not hearing that, you know, then you need to be saying that to yourself, and you need to be loving yourself as much as you can, and ask yourself if anyone else could do a better job or would even be willing to do what you're doing right now. And in most every case, the answer is not only are they not willing, there's nobody available. So
That's true. What's even nicer, though, is when you offer to do it with me.
yeah, you know, I've learned how to turn I've got the vacuum cleaner out. I've turned it on. I've turned it off. It works. And I've used it, I mean, with love and compassion.
That's not true. He uses it.
Yeah.
He uses it. Well, I wanted to ask about the fear situation because I know it can come up, and I wanted to read a prayer or treatment that's written by our founder Ernest Holmes that is about fear to faith, and that's really what we're talking about. That in the midst of fear, we need to remember to return to our faith. And I still go back to the story I told you when this whole thing started mid-March, is that we do much as the Sufi tale recommended. We trust in Allah and tie our camel. Or as a minister I heard, who's, when he first started recommending masks in his congregation when they were still meeting, people said, well, why don't you just have faith in God? And he said, I do have faith in God. I have faith in God, and I still wear a seatbelt when I get in the car. You know, so it's doing both. But I'd like to read this for us to consider. Ernest Holmes says, today my heart is without fear, for I have implicit confidence in the good and enduring in the true. Fear is the only thing of which to be afraid. It is not the host encamped against us, nor the confusion around us that we need to fear. It is the lack of confidence in the good that alone should concern us. Through inner spiritual vision, we know that evil is transitory, but good is permanent. We know that right finally dissolves everything opposed to it. The power of spirit is supreme over every antagonist. Therefore, we should cherish no fear. When we neither fear nor hate, we come to understand the unity of life. I realize that fear is not godlike, since it contradicts the divine presence, repudiates limitless love, and denies infinite good. Therefore, I know that fear is a lie, a fraud. It is neither person, place, nor thing. It is merely an impostor that I have believed in. I have entertained it so long that it seems to be as if it really were something, and it attempts to make me believe that 2 and 2 are 5, that the earth is flat, and that God is limited. Today, I repudiate all fear. I renounce the belief in evil. I enter into conscious union with spirit. I accept the good as supreme, positive, and absolute. With joy, I enter into the activities of the day. Without regret, I remember the events of yesterday, and with confidence, I look forward to tomorrow. For today, my heart is without fear. And so it is.
Powerful. You know, one of the troubles with faith and fear is that, well, not trouble with fear. I've had fear a lot longer than I've had faith.
I know, yeah.
And you've had a lot more practice responding to fear than you have to
It's like
faith.
that learning about snakes.
Right. So faith is an acquired skill. It's an acquired gift.
It is.
And
one we have to learn to use.
Yes.
To actually draw upon.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing the faith includes is an assumption that there's more to life than you think or see or know. There's an assumption that there's a universe that works in favor of you that is actually that you're a part of and connected to. There's a power greater than me operating in the universe and I can use it. Wow, now that's a huge statement to make when you haven't ever been taught that and then you want to use that. So I think it's a challenge, but it's a wonderful challenge. And it's a challenge worth embracing. If every day you would ask yourself, what can I do now knowing that I'm supported by the universe and the universe is in favor of me? That would be helpful. And the fact that you're not being patted on the back on a regular basis doesn't mean there isn't a cosmic pat, or that you're not being loved, and that it doesn't mean something, because it does.
And that's an excellent point that you made about having fear longer. For most children, I realize there are some special children who are spiritually aware as children, but most children learn a whole lot more about fear for many years before they learn about faith. And that often takes a maturity to understand faith. But I remember learning to be as afraid of snakes as you were, appreciative of them, because my sister had an experience at my grandparents' farm of going to collect eggs. That was a big, exciting thing for us, to go to the chicken coop and collect fresh eggs. And she reached her hand into one of the little spaces in the coop, and there was a snake there. And we went running in terror to the farmhouse and told them, and they came out and killed the snake. I don't even think it was a poisonous snake. I don't even remember whether it was poisonous or not, but the fear and terror remained with me for the rest of my life. Oh my God, my sister almost stuck her hand into the snake bit kind of thing. So those things get learned, and they're automatic reactions. And we have to use our conscious mind to access our faith, to remind ourselves of the truth, to know that we're safe right here, right now. And we can do that.
When people say be reasonable, they usually mean, please agree with me. But what it really means is, and what it can mean is, allow me to reason. And you can use reasoning. One of the differences between being phobic and not being phobic is being able to reason that this thing that you're afraid of is not something to be afraid of. It becomes a phobia when you can't reason, when you have an unreasonable fear. And so what we're inviting people to do is to become reasonable for yourself. Reason yourself through the condition, knowing that you're not alone. Another posture you could take is, I'm going to imagine doing what I'm about to do, but I'm going to imagine that I am in the company of spirit. I'm in the company of those around me that want me to succeed, that will help and support me all the way through it. How does that feel, and what does that do?
So would you like to close us with a closing prayer?
Yeah, I sure would. And thank you all for being here and for participating and allowing us into your lives.
I'll remind you, next week will be at 10:30.
Yes, and we're not in California, so we'll be back here at 10:30. Although it was kind of fun this morning watching everybody else and all the other programs, because so many of our centers that we never get a chance to visit were on the air today, and I got a chance to see David Alt, who was amazing, wonderful, and just a bunch of other people that were just really brilliant. So as we come together, as we are together, and knowing that we are together, and knowing that we are one in this consciousness, this divine consciousness, the first thing we say is, I'm thankful, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for my aliveness. I'm grateful for the creativity that lives within me, the imagination that I have that allows me to see a world that does work, that allows me to create a world that works. So I say yes to creating the very best and highest for myself and for everyone around me. I say yes to the support that I already know is there, has unfolded, and is complete in my life, that allows all things to manifest exactly as I would want them to manifest for my highest and best. I see this, I say this, I know this, and I appreciate this. And with this I say, and so it is.
So it is.
And we're going to sign off here and see you
We'll
all.
sign off on
We'll sign-
Facebook
yeah.
Live. And then I will
Unmute.
unmute you and end the recording.